Have you ever wondered how one of the world's smallest countries became one of its most talked about? How a land barely larger than a small state has a story that stretches back thousands of years? The history of Israel isn't just about wars and politics. It's about belief, it's about identity, and it's about a people who refuse to disappear, no matter what the world threw at them. In this video, we'll travel through time, from ancient deserts to modern cities, from kings and prophets to pioneers and dreamers. By the end, you'll understand how Israel came to be and why its story still shapes our world today. So stay with me till the end, because the ending of this story is the real reward. It shows how one nation's past still echoes in the present. Let's begin. Long before there was a country called Israel, there was a promise. Our story begins thousands of years ago in a land once called Canaan. It was a place of hills, deserts, and narrow rivers. Small tribes lived there, moving with their flocks and herds. One man's journey changed everything. His name was Abraham. According to the Bible, God made him a promise that his children would become a great nation and that this land would be their home. That promise would shape history for thousands of years. Generations later, Abraham's descendants, the Hebrews, faced hard times. A famine forced them to move to Egypt. At first, they found safety, but over time, they became slaves under Pharaoh's rule. Then came a leader named Moses. He rose to free his people. Through plagues, miracles, and courage, he led them out of Egypt, an event known as the Exodus. It became the central story of freedom and faith for generations to come. The journey back to the Promised Land took years. The people wandered through deserts, following what they believed was divine guidance. When they finally reached Canaan again, they began to rebuild their lives. They formed 12 tribes and tried to live by laws that bound them together, not by kings or armies, but by faith. Over time, those tribes united under one leader. His name was Saul, the first king of Israel. After him came David, the shepherd who defeated Goliath and turned a small tribe into a strong kingdom. He made Jerusalem the capital, a city that would become holy to billions one day. David's son Solomon built a grand temple. It became the heart of their faith and the symbol of their nation. Under Solomon, the kingdom reached its peak, wealthy, peaceful, and proud. But success brought new problems. After Solomon's death, unity broke. The tribes split into two kingdoms, Israel in the north, Judah in the south, and that division would make them weak against enemies waiting beyond their borders. After Solomon's death, peace didn't last. The once strong kingdom of Israel broke apart. The north kept the name Israel. The south became Judah. Each had its own kings, its own cities, and its own troubles. Without unity, they grew weak. Powerful empires watched from a distance, waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment came. First came the Assyrians from the north. They attacked and destroyed the kingdom of Israel. Its people were taken away, scattered across foreign lands. They became known as the Lost Tribes. Judah survived a little longer. Its capital, Jerusalem, still stood. But danger was coming again, this time from Babylon. The Babylonians were stronger, richer, and ruthless. They surrounded Jerusalem and laid siege to it. For months, the city held on. But in 586 BCE, the walls finally fell. The temple, Solomon's masterpiece, was burned to the ground. Smoke filled the air. The city that had once been the center of faith was now in ruins. The people of Judah were captured and forced to march to Babylon, hundreds of miles away. It was more than just exile. It felt like the end of everything. They had lost their home, their temple, their freedom, but not their faith. In foreign lands, they began to rebuild, not with bricks, but with memory. They wrote their stories. They remembered their laws. They promised that one day they would return. And that promise, that hope, became the heartbeat of their identity. Even without a land, they kept their nation alive in their hearts. Many years passed in exile. The people of Judah waited, prayed, and hoped. Then a new power rose, the Persian Empire. Its king, Cyrus the Great, defeated Babylon. Unlike the rulers before him, Cyrus showed mercy. He allowed the exiled Jews to go home. For the first time in decades, they returned to Jerusalem. The city was broken, its temple destroyed, but the dream was alive again. They began to rebuild, brick by brick, prayer by prayer. A new temple rose, smaller than Solomon's, but filled with the same faith. It became known as the Second Temple. Life slowly returned to the land. Farmers worked the soil. Families rebuilt homes. The people felt free again, but not for long. New empires kept rising. First the Persians ruled, then the Greeks under Alexander the Great. When Alexander died, his generals fought for control, and the land of Israel became a prize in their wars. Greek culture spread everywhere. Language, art, and ideas. Some Jews accepted it, others resisted it. Then came a dark time. A Greek ruler, Antiochus, banned Jewish traditions. He even turned the temple into a shrine for his gods. The people had enough. A small group of rebels, known as the Maccabees, rose up to fight. They won. They reclaimed the temple and rededicated it. That victory is still remembered every year during Hanukkah. For a short time, the land was independent again, but peace never lasted long. The Romans came next, stronger and hungrier than all who came before. They took control, placed their own kings on the throne, and demanded heavy taxes. The people of Israel had endured many conquerors, but Rome would be the hardest yet, and the cost would change their history forever. The Romans ruled with iron fists. Their power reached every corner of the land. The people grew angry. They wanted freedom again. Revolts broke out, brave but hopeless. The Romans crushed them all. In the year 70, the Second Temple was destroyed. Only a single wall remained standing, what we now call the Western Wall. That moment changed everything. Without a temple or a country, the people of Israel were scattered once more. Many were taken as slaves. Others fled to distant lands. The dream of returning home began to fade into memory. Decades later, another revolt rose, led by a man named Bar Kokhba. It too was defeated. The Romans punished the survivors harshly. They banned Jews from Jerusalem and renamed the land Palestina. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people would live without a nation of their own. But their story didn't end. They carried their faith with them wherever they went. From Babylon to Spain, from North Africa to Europe, they built new lives. They kept their traditions. They prayed in the same language. They taught their children to remember Jerusalem. Empires rose and fell. The Byzantines came, then the early Muslim armies. In 638, Islamic forces took Jerusalem. Under their rule, the city became home to new faith and new monuments. The Golden Dome of the Rock was built, shining above the ancient ruins. Centuries passed. Christians launched the Crusades, fighting to reclaim the Holy Land. The wars were brutal and long. Control of the land changed hands again and again. After the Crusaders came Muslim leaders like Saladin, who recaptured Jerusalem. Then the Mamluks ruled, and by the early 1500s, the powerful Ottoman Empire took over. For nearly 400 years, the land of Israel, now called Palestine, stayed under Ottoman rule. It was a quiet, distant province. Villages were small, trade was slow, but for Jews around the world, it was still the promised land, the home they prayed to return to someday. By the late 1800s, the world had changed. Empires ruled most of the planet. Trains, factories, and cities filled Europe. But for Jewish people, life was still hard. In many places, they faced hate and violence. They were blamed for problems they didn't cause. They were pushed into poor neighborhoods. They were attacked simply for who they were. Out of this pain came a new idea, Zionism. It was the dream to return to their ancient homeland, not just in prayer, but in real life, to build a place where Jews could live free, speak their own language, and shape their own future. The idea spread fast. Leaders like Theodor Herzl wrote and spoke about it. He said the Jewish people could not rely on others to protect them. They needed a home of their own, in the land of their ancestors. And so people began to move. Small groups of Jewish families left Europe and traveled to Palestine. They bought land, drained swamps, and built farms. It was hard work. Many got sick or poor, but they didn't give up. They spoke Hebrew again, a language that had almost disappeared. They built new villages and communities called kibbutzim. Each one was a small piece of a much bigger dream. At first, the Ottoman rulers allowed it, but tensions grew. The local Arab population, who had lived there for generations, worried about losing their land. Fear and mistrust started to grow between neighbors. Still, the movement continued. By the early 1900s, thousands more had arrived. Schools were open, new towns were built, and hope began to take root. The Jewish people had been without a nation for nearly 2,000 years. But now that dream, the dream of return, was starting to become real again. The dream of return was growing, but the world was changing fast. In 1914, war broke out across Europe. The Ottoman Empire, which ruled Palestine, joined the losing side. When the war ended, Britain took control of the land under what was called the British Mandate. At first, Britain promised to help create a Jewish homeland. This promise was written in the Balfour Declaration of 1917. It gave hope to Jews everywhere, but it also worried the Arabs who already lived there. They feared losing their homes and their way of life. Tension began to rise. As more Jewish immigrants arrived, violence broke out between communities. Britain tried to keep the peace but failed. The dream of a homeland was alive, but so was conflict. Then came World War II. The world fell into darkness again, and for Jews in Europe, it became the darkest chapter in history, the Holocaust. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were murdered by the Nazis. Families destroyed, communities erased, a people almost wiped out. After the war, the survivors had nowhere to go. Many returned to the same lands that had rejected them, but others looked toward Palestine, the only place that felt like home. In 1947, the United Nations made a plan. It proposed dividing the land into two states, one Jewish, one Arab. The Jewish leaders accepted. The Arab leaders refused. They said the land could not be divided. As the British prepared to leave, fighting began between the two sides. Villages burned, fear spread, and history reached another turning point. On May 14, 1948, a man named David Ben-Gurion stood before a small crowd in Tel Aviv. He declared the creation of the State of Israel. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people had a nation again. But freedom came with war. The next day, armies from Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and other Arab countries invaded. Israel fought for survival. Against all odds, it survived. By the end of the war, the small new country stood on its own, battered, grieving, but alive. For Jews around the world, it was the return of an ancient promise. For Palestinians, it was a tragedy, the Nakba, the catastrophe, where hundreds of thousands lost their homes. Two nations, two stories, born from the same land, and the conflict between them would shape everything that came next. The new state of Israel was born in war. Its people were young, poor, and outnumbered, but they were determined to survive. When the guns finally went silent in 1949, the borders were redrawn. Israel was larger than the United Nations had planned. Egypt controlled Gaza. Jordan took the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and hundreds of thousands of refugees were left scattered across the region. Israel's first years were hard. The land was dry and undeveloped. Thousands of immigrants arrived with nothing. Many were Holocaust survivors, broken but hopeful. Others were Jews driven out of Arab countries. Together, they built new towns, roads, and farms. There was little food, there was no peace, but there was purpose. Then came 1956. Egypt took control of the Suez Canal and blocked Israeli ships. Israel joined Britain and France in a short war to reopen it. The fighting stopped quickly, but the message was clear. Israel was ready to defend itself. A decade later, new threats appeared. Tensions grew with Egypt, Syria, and Jordan. Arab armies gathered at Israel's borders. The world held its breath. In June 1967, war erupted again. It lasted only 6 days, but changed everything. Israel struck first and won fast. It captured the Sinai Peninsula, Gaza Strip, West Bank, and Golan Heights. And for the first time in nearly 2,000 years, Jerusalem was united under Jewish control. The victory shocked the world. Israel was now stronger than ever, but it also faced new challenges. Millions of Palestinians were now living under Israeli rule. The joy of victory soon mixed with the weight of responsibility. Then in 1973 came the Yom Kippur War. On the holiest day of the Jewish year, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack. Israel was caught off guard. The early days were devastating, but Israel recovered and pushed the enemies back. The cost was high. Thousands of lives lost on all sides. The war changed the nation. It made people question their leaders. It brought pain, but also the beginning of peace talks. Because even after all the bloodshed, many began to realize war could not last forever. The wars had taken their toll. Too many lives were lost. Too many families broken. The people of Israel were tired of fighting. So were their neighbors. In 1979, something historic happened. Egypt and Israel signed a peace treaty. It was the first agreement between Israel and an Arab country. Israel gave back the Sinai Peninsula. In return, Egypt recognized Israel's right to exist. For the first time, peace seemed possible. But peace did not last everywhere. The Palestinian people were still without a state. Many lived in refugee camps. Others lived under Israeli control in the West Bank and Gaza. Their anger grew. They demanded independence. In the late 1980s, a wave of protest began. The First Intifada. It was an uprising of stones and strikes, not tanks and planes. The world watched as images of clashes filled the news. The conflict was no longer only about borders. It was about identity, freedom, and fear. In 1993, hope returned. Israeli and Palestinian leaders met and shook hands in front of the world. It was called the Oslo Accords. Both sides agreed to recognize each other and start building peace step by step. Many believed the dream of two states, Israel and Palestine, was finally within reach. But the dream slowly faded. Violence returned. Extremists on both sides attacked the peace process. In 1995, Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, the man who signed the peace deal, was assassinated by one of his own citizens. The nation was shocked. Peace began to slip away again. Years later came the Second Intifada. Bombings, shootings, and military strikes filled the headlines. Fear became part of daily life for both Israelis and Palestinians. Walls and checkpoints appeared. Trust was gone. Still, Israel moved forward. The country grew into a modern, high-tech powerhouse. Its cities were alive with innovation. Scientists, doctors, and entrepreneurs changed the world from tiny offices and labs. But even as Israel advanced, the shadow of conflict never fully left. In 2020, new change came. The Abraham Accords brought peace agreements with the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and other Arab nations. It was a sign that dialogue was still possible, that maybe one day peace could stretch across the whole region. Today, Israel stands between past and future. It is ancient and modern, sacred and political, a place of miracles and of deep, lasting questions. The journey is not over. The story of Israel continues, written every day by the people who live, dream, and struggle in this small, remarkable land. The history of Israel is not just a story about a land. It's a story about people, their faith, their loss, and their strength. From ancient tribes to modern cities, from exile to independence, every chapter shows one thing: the power of survival. Generation after generation, the people of Israel carried their identity through war, wandering, and hope. They built again and again, even when everything seemed lost. But this story is not finished. Israel's past still shapes its future. The conflicts remain. So do the dreams. Peace feels far, yet never impossible. In this small land, history lives in every stone, every prayer, every flag that waves in the wind. It reminds us how faith can outlast time, how memory can build nations, and how even after thousands of years, hope can still find a home. Because the story of Israel isn't just about yesterday, it's about tomorrow. And tomorrow is still being written. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more history waiting to be told. Hit the like button if you believe stories like this should never be forgotten. And tell me in the comments, which part of Israel's story moved you the most?